Hello and welcome to Big Bandit Gaming. Today I have Josh.
Hello.
Colton.
Here.
Good. Izayah.
Hey, yo.
What's up? I'm your host, Troy, and today, well, before we get into our topic, let's just catch up, you know, us three and our thousands of listeners. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
It's very unrealistic, I think.
You don't speak for us, Izayah.
Yes, that's who.
But yeah, I just got a new job, so I am now working. Technically, I'm working like 2 jobs at the moment, and I misjudged how difficult that would be.
No, what is the job?
So I'm working at have you ever heard of Rainbird? They're like an irrigation company. They work on like golf courses and stuff.
We have Rainbird at the house.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I do all their PC repairs and like some back end like engineering stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah. No, it's a great job. It pays super well. It's like way better because I was at Amazon before and that was soul sucking. So I am getting paid substantially more to not be miserable somewhere else. Good. So yeah, it's been good. It's just as far as everything else, including gaming, it's been like pretty rough. I'm like, oh, is this how people play games? Can people only play 45 minutes of a game like a week? Is this how it works? Okay. So yeah, like I want to like get more into Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but I'm like, at this rate, I won't finish this game in the next year, and there's going to be 1,000 other games before this, so I kind of just set it aside. But yeah, it's been good overall, though. It's been good. Just
personally, I've just been on brain rot Monster Hunter Rise. My friends, we've been replaying it all together, grinding out like as much as possible. We've been doing it like daily, and recently I had like a talk with my counselor, and I'm genuinely considering going for Whataburger's education thing. They can like pay for your schooling, I think. Starbucks is the same thing. So I'm genuinely considering like starting school and still working at Whataburger, and they can like I think pay for it. So I don't know. It's in the air, but I mean my own work has been fun, honestly. Like 4 days a week with like 6 hours, and doing morning shifts. Just I don't know. It feels fun, which is weird because everyone looks at me like weird like that. I'm like, why? You think this is fun? I'm like, yeah. I enjoy my job.
That's good because not a lot of people do.
No, absolutely not.
What about you, Colton? What's been going on?
I mean, work. I gotta have a long weekend ahead of me starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
7 to 11, 3 days in a row. That's gonna be, and out in the freaking sun. And it's Oktoberfest, so people are gonna be drunk, and people that are drunk mixed with really hot weather. I'm sure I'm gonna clean up some stuff that's not desirable. But other than that, it's been great. A lot of Yakuza Like a Dragon lately.
Oh, yeah.
And that's been fun.
Yeah, that's your first Yakuza game?
It is, yes.
It's a good jumping on point. It's a good jumping on point. It is weird that because none of them have been turn-based before that one, so.
Yeah, I'm liking that part more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I just got to the point. I looked up some reviews before I started playing it, and it seems like everybody had the same opinion that the game's really good. There is one part you get like 3/4 of the way through the campaign, and it kind of forces you to grind to get to the next part. And I just got to that point, so I am having a little bit more trouble than I've had the rest of the game, so we'll see how I feel about it at the end of all that. But other than that, it's been really fun.
Yeah, it is interesting that they set up the combat to be like pretty much a JRPG, which is like with the job system and everything. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the game. That was like the only Xbox. Speaking of what we're going to be talking today, that was like the only really interesting Xbox launch game that was like exclusive to it.
Oh, so. Really? It was.
Yeah, that came to PS5 like a year later. It was weird. So it was the exclusive to the next gen consoles. It came out on PS4 at the same time, but it didn't come out to PS5 like a year later, which is just a weird deal they made. A Sega made with Xbox. But yeah. So that was like my one big launch game I bought. Josh, how's it going?
Oh, crappy for the most part. forgot
appreciate your honesty.
my wife and I's anniversary. I forgot about it. So
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah,
I knew it was coming up. I just didn't know how many days exactly.
No,
It was a little rough.
I get that too. I'll like know something's coming up, and then in the moment, I'll be like trying to figure out a day to do something. I'm like, oh, Friday, I have that open. Like, let's do it then. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, I agreed to do something on this day. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
It's like heat of the moment scheduling.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we got to celebrate that, and
Cool.
we went to the mall in Frisco. It was nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We
By
got
the way-
some books.
Oh no.
What?
No, keep going. I want to hear.
Oh yeah, no,
everything.
we got a lot of books. Like that was most of what we did
Some
to
more Brandon
celebrate.
Sanderson stuff.
Yes, we
Nice.
we got the 4th book of Stormlight Archives.
Is that the
And
Rhythm of War?
Yeah, still couldn't
Yeah.
get it to match our cheap mass market paperbacks that we had, but that's fine.
Yeah. Are you wanting to go through all of his extended universe stuff?
Yeah,
with that?
yeah. We bought the Arcanum Unbound, I think is what it's called, which has a lot of the short stories and stuff, as well as Dawn Shard, which is his most recent Cosmere.
Yeah.
So we're diving pretty deep into his stuff.
the big one after you finish that one will be the Mistborn, because that's 3
Oh, I love
huge
Mistborn.
books and all that.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
you
couldn't
read?
find a nice edition of that, so we passed on that for now. But
Yeah, I remember originally, Colton. I think you said you got like a little bit way through it, and then you fell off of Mistborn. So you did end up getting back to it?
I feel like I ran through those, but I remember waiting
okay.
between the 2nd and 3rd Stormlight Archive. I just went through all the Mistborn books.
Oh, okay, yeah. The magic system in that thing is like really good.
What's that type of game?
And then they brought Kelsier to Fortnite, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, which
But
then,
something I was not expecting.
And then Brandon Sanderson showed up in that. What was he in the Was it in the PlayStation thing, or was it an Xbox thing?
Oh, what was that? I can't remember.
No, that was for some PC game, right? That like Moon something Breakers.
I want to
Shakers.
say, yeah, maybe something like that. I feel like it was like one of the console related shows though. It was either PlayStation or Xbox. I forget.
It looks like a PC game though. That's
What's
the only
up,
reason.
Izayah?
What's the archives about?
Oh, it's a series by an author called Brandon Sanderson. He kind of has he almost has his own like cinematic universe type thing where all his books are loosely connected, or in some cases like very directly. But yeah, his stuff's cool. I don't love all his books though, because I didn't like his superhero series, and the one in space is okay. But all this like fantasy Cosmere stuff is really good.
Skyward, is that the space?
Yes, with the talking ship.
Yeah, they were okay.
I haven't read that.
Yeah,
they're more like they're geared towards like youth, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a teen book. Whenever I was reading, I was like, "Oh, this is
I might pass on those."
Yeah, and his superhero one is kind of like a really like a really YA novel version of The Boys. So it's like, all right,
yeah,
I'm okay. But yeah, all the fantasy stuff is just like grade A stuff all the time. I actually figured out I missed one of his books. It was there's only one in this series, but it's a magic system all about chalk.
Really?
No. Yeah. It's a single one-off book. He hasn't made another one.
That's like a kid's book though, right?
No, it's totally like it's actually more violent than some of his other stuff. It's like a murder mystery.
Rhythmatist?
Yes. Yeah, it's really good. I just listened to that one. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And that is part of the Cosmere too.
Oh, I'll listen to that.
Yeah, for sure. But there's our Brandon Sanderson moment, considering he's now like invading gaming and most podcasts I listen to.
Yeah, I want the next Elden Ring to be Brandon Sanderson inspired.
There's a video on YouTube that Brandon Sanderson goes through his like top 10 games of all time, and if you guys don't want this spoiled, you can just skip ahead like maybe 20-30 seconds. But you just think whenever I hear celebrities do it, they do like real like like softball like games or whatever, and he gets his number one. It's like Dark Souls and a bunch of these other games. I'm like, oh man, Brandon Sanderson is a capital G gamer.
I was actually watching him stream Elden Ring a couple weeks ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's cool. But speaking of being busy, I actually did not write the doc for this episode or come up with the idea, so I'm gonna throw it to Josh. I said I was your host. I lied.
That's crazy.
Switcheroo.
Well, I know. So Josh, take it away.
Well, hello everyone. I will be hosting this week's episode.
Am I gonna have to put another bumper right here?
Yeah. So we're gonna take a look at the modern console lineup, what we have available to us in our local Walmarts and Targets, and see which one we think is the best. So in this first section, I wanted to take a look at the first 2 years of each console's release. Obviously, the Switch came out many years ago. It's about 5.5 years old now. And the other two, the PS5 and the Xbox Series, is about 2 years old now. At least it will be in November, if I'm getting my dates right. Yeah. November 10th.
Wild.
Or November 12th for the PS5. So I kind of consider them to be the same generation. I don't know about you guys.
The Switch and the Series stuff?
Yeah, because I don't like.
It's tough.
I wouldn't say the Switch
Nintendo.
is. Yes, the Switch you can't really fit with any generation, but I guess in my mind, because this is what's available now, this is what you could go out and buy, then you can't really compare it to their future console. So we'll be taking a look at the Switch, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
No.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. I'll also just read it real quick if you guys are not okay. Well,
it's fine. I get it, because the Wii U came out like when the PS3 and 360 were out, and then less than 6 months later, a PS4 and Xbox One came out. So it's really hard to nail down even like where the Wii U landed. So yeah, that stuff's difficult. But I'm good to go. Yeah.
Alrighty, then we're gonna start by taking a look at the noteworthy games for each of these consoles. And we're going to start with the Switch because it came out first, like I was saying. Yeah. One thing I noticed about the Switch's games is a lot of them obviously were ported from the Wii U. We've talked about this before in previous episodes.
Right.
But I wanted to see, what are your guys' favorite games that came out in the first 2 years of the Switch's life cycle? Because we got from March 3rd, 2017 to March of 2019, and I know it's not much came out in 2019, so it's mainly going to just be in 2017 and 2018.
Yeah, because we're just comparing first 2 years, right?
Yeah, but it's March of 2017.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
Oh,
gotcha.
But I noticed that almost nothing came out in 2019 in the early months, so you can kind of ignore that. For me personally, obviously we've got ARMS. Colton.
Heck yeah.
Top tier game for Nintendo.
I try convincing Nintendo that.
I've written many
They admitted
letters
to Smash.
Yeah, they did. That's
it has
point.
Representation. Obviously, Troy, we got Mario Tennis Aces.
Oh yeah, of course. That game I played one evening. Yeah, I mean, the obvious ones for the first 2 years were
1, 2, Switch,
Breath of the Wild and Odyssey. We can agree. Those are
that's no fun.
killer games. I'm just getting them out of the talking point now. Everyone knows those were killer first year games.
Yeah,
it'd be like in comparison to the other guys, it would be like, I don't know, like the PS4 came out and you got Bloodborne and Uncharted 4 within that first year.
Yeah, for sure.
But we didn't. We did not.
We did no. That's not the case, and I don't think that's going to be the case for the series. Yeah, for the Series X or PlayStation 5. But yeah, it's just wild to have those two games specifically just come out so soon after launch, especially after the Wii U, where you would have droughts. They even called it droughts. That was one of the main words when IGN was forcing people to just cover Nintendo when the Wii U came out. And they have whole episodes when Earthbound, like the ROM came to Wii U.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like you don't have that trouble with the Switch, especially in the first year. It's such a big difference from the Wii U. They learned their lesson.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out that we did get a lot of new franchises for Nintendo. Even though, I mean, Splatoon was obviously on the Wii U, but like I said, we got ARMS, and we got Mario and Rabbids, which the sequel's coming out this year. Pretty excited.
Looks great. It looks really cool. Like so far what we've seen.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. I think for the Switch came out with a bang, like you said, with Mario and Zelda, and then having these new characters and franchises to get behind is really exciting.
That was a really exciting year. Like,
2017.
I feel like a lot of people that weren't like Nintendo fans or like fell off. They're like, oh, I had an N64 or GameCube. This is where they jumped back on. You know, they really captured kind of everything. Like it wasn't just the Wii where it was just like, oh, this is for the casual people, and you know, the like hardcore knew like Galaxy and stuff was on it, but you know, for the most part that was Zemo, and the Wii U, no one cared in any demographic. But the Switch just seemed to hit every single one, you know. I mean, I don't think your grandma's gonna be walking around with the Switch, but they got, you know, as close as they could to that wide appeal.
There's going to be Switches in every retirement home, like there was a
Wii. Yeah, maybe not, but
they're all still playing Smash Ultimate.
No, they're still playing their Wii. That's what they're doing. But yeah, what about the ports? How many of these ports do you guys play?
There's so many ports here.
8 Deluxe is easily like the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8, the greatest Mario Kart of all time.
I should mention, by the way, my favorites from like just like first party like new games was like Smash Ultimate, Breath of the Wild, and then like Splatoon 2. Just want to make it clear.
Yeah,
I think Smash Ultimate does make the cut. It is there, just very late in 2018.
It's just very late, yeah. But it was worth the wait, 100%.
Well, I think with Mario Kart 2, we're used to having like a pared down version of like the larger games. I mean, 7 was its own game on the 3DS, and that was an all right Mario Kart. But I feel like having it, a lot of these games having it portably, like that first year, was just kind of like a wow factor, you know. But as far as ports, I mean, it's weird for me because, and probably for you, Josh, too. I don't know how many of these you played on the Wii U, but a lot.
I totally cut out for the past like 10 seconds. So what were you saying?
I was just saying, it's interesting for me to look at the ports because a lot of these I had played on the Wii U, but I was glad to see other people able to like play them and enjoy them. I feel like Bayonetta 2 is in a weird place because Nintendo fans are like very loyal to their franchises, you know? Like if a game comes out in like a Nintendo franchise, they're there for the most part. I feel like Bayonetta 2 not being branded from the beginning as like a Nintendo franchise has kind of hurt it on the Switch. I think it definitely rounds out the Switch's library to like a hardcore audience. But I feel like it's difficult to, I don't know, include that as like this is a Nintendo, like huge Nintendo effort. Even though it is, I never feel like Nintendo people get around it as hard as they do the other series, you know.
And it's not Nintendo, right? It's Platinum.
Yeah. Even though Nintendo's totally, I wonder if they own like the Bayonetta name. I'm sure they do.
It might have been part of the deal that they made to fund the creation of 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I did want to point out, I kind of send an apology your way, Troy, for our ranking episode, the tier list, because you made a point about the ports to the Switch, and I have to say that whenever I was making this doc, that it reframed my thinking of the ports, and we'll get to this later. The backwards compatibility of the Switch, there is none. The backwards compatibility is the fact that they have ported so many of the Wii U games. Yeah, they're just re-releases, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, how many of these actually do I consider Switch games at this point? And that's why I kind of grade them out on the dock, because I don't. It's not really fair, especially when comparing them to the other consoles, to be like, well, they've got all these games. Like, sure, but I can play any of my PS4 games on my PS5. So
Yeah.
they don't really have that impact whenever looking at the library side by side with the other consoles.
Yeah. And, you look at something with the PS5, like you look at Demon Souls. I don't discount Demon Souls because it's not, they obviously did work like quality of life, load times alone and stuff like that. So it's a little different. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But first 2 years Switch, like super strong. I mean, I think they had a really good breadth of franchises that they put in. Like they hit a lot just within that first 2 years,
Absolutely, yeah.
On the previous consoles, you'd be lucky to get one of each by the end of the console generation, So I feel like there was a drought at the end of the Wii U. It's because they were just like, well, that didn't work. Everyone, all hands on deck, So
yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird for us to like take this viewpoint like of just looking at the first 2 years of each console. And Nintendo definitely has an advantage there, but I think that is what put them back into play in the market, because with the Wii U obviously being a failure, they had to come out swinging, and they did that in the first 2 years, which is not common for a new console.
Yeah. Although looking at this list, though, I do think 2018 is a much weaker list than 2017. For me personally.
Yeah, there are a few more ports in there as well.
Other than Smash, like nothing on there really moves the needle.
That Kirby game, I don't think anyone talks about. Kirby Star Allies. Octopath Traveler was kind of okay.
I mean, if you didn't own a Wii U and you were like, I want to play these Nintendo games I miss, like include those ports as something you've never touched or played. That's actually becomes a whole nother conversation. That's like a really solid lineup,
Right.
But yeah, just personally, that second year was a little weaker. But
yeah. Any further thoughts from anyone else on the Switch?
It came in hard, man. It's still going pretty well, I think. Do you all agree with like?
As of this last year, yes. Like, if you would ask me a year ago, I'd have been like, I don't know what's going on with their first party output here, but I'm not feeling it. But this last year has really turned me around. I'm like, okay, they still got it.
Yeah. Not every year can be great, and we see that very quickly with Xbox, in my opinion. Moving on. To 2020, the release of the Series X and the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
2 years ago. That's crazy.
2 years ago.
That is so weird. Wow.
What's happened?
I haven't touched my PS4 at all since then.
Well, hopefully, if you have a PS5, there's like literally no reason.
Literally no reason.
Yeah. It's all backwards compatibility. That's the great thing with, I guess we can start with that, is on a base level, before we even talk about games, we can maybe talk about like UI and stuff, because that's something we didn't talk about with Switch, because it's almost about the same as it launched. Like,
the
UI and hardware and stuff. But I feel like
Bluetooth is the only thing they added.
Yes, and even Bluetooth is weird. If you're playing, I was having a lot of trouble, and I figured out if I'm using my Joy-Cons and my AirPods, the Bluetooth audio quality falls off a cliff.
Oh my god!
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yep. So if you play it with like one Pro controller and your Bluetooth, then you're okay. But yeah, it's kind of still.
It's the same case with like controllers. Like looking them up with like Bluetooth and wire, it's like so complicated.
I've been having disconnection issues too. But that's like a whole nother deal. I think coming out the gate, I mean, I guess, Josh, do you want to maybe? How long have you guys had, or what's your experience with like the Series X or PS5?
I got mine.
Are you talking about UI still?
No. I've owned both since launch, which kind of gives me a little bit of a different perspective on like where they were versus where they are now.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got mine pretty close together. Oh, I swapped my Series X for the PS5, and then I got a Series S later.
Yeah.
They're so similar.
They really are.
It just
a lot of ways.
Yeah, and functionality, I mean, compared to the Switch, like, is such a foreign object when set alongside my PS5 and Series S. I don't know. It really just comes down to the games for me personally. I mean, we'll talk about the controllers and everything, but looking at the calendar here, it's like, yeah, Demon Souls was the first game I played on the PS5, and I was disappointed by it. But regardless, I had something to play. Whereas putting in the Xbox, it was like, okay, what's in the Game Pass? And was I like astonished by anything I found in Game Pass? Not at all. Like, it was just games that I was like, I guess I could try this out because it's here.
Yeah.
So there just wasn't that heavy hitter for me.
Yeah. But. And we're just sorry on this list. Are we just kind of focusing on the games for this section?
I mean, we can just talk about
everything,
whatever you guys want. We'll kind of blend them together as we go because we're going to talk about hardware, software.
Oh yeah,
services,
compatibility. Yeah, you're right. Let's talk about the games. I'm sorry. I should have read down the doc a little bit more.
Okay. No, it's fine. The list is mostly just again for reference. Go ahead, Izayah.
In terms of like exclusives and like what they had at launch or like at the first year for 2020, I think PS5 definitely was like had some really good heavy hitters. Miles Morales was like a genuine upgrade in combat from like, other game. Wait, were you trying to say something, Troy?
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Okay. And then you have Demon Souls. Right out the gate is like a complete remake from like the PS3 game for PS5. Like that's just like chef's
ground up PS5 game. By the way, I mean, no matter how it plays, because that's kind of their MOs. They don't really touch the gameplay or a lot of things. But that game is a stunner. That game is great.
Yeah, but like you see a lot of them actually share like on our list for like the year 2020. We see a lot of these games kind of blend for both consoles. Like they both came out on both consoles, and they're great. Like Yakuza Like a Dragon, as like Colton was playing earlier, he's loving it. Like I'm seeing him playing it often. I played Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, awesome game, great on both consoles. Except for the last title, I don't know how to feel about it. Cyberpunk 2077. Any input?
It's kind of a mess, but people seem to like it now. So
I'm going to try to give it another try soon.
Yeah, I want to give it a try. I genuinely want to, but this first year is good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. This first year is really good. And speaking specifically console wise, like honestly, for a launch year, the PS5 had a really good launch lineup. I don't see Astrobot on here, but that is.
Oh, Astrobot was a great.
So good.
Good point.
It feels so tactile.
Astrobot was really good as. It's like the perfect people would come over and be like, "Oh, that's that thing everybody wants at the store."
Yes.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah, play this little game, feel the controller," and it was like the perfect little show off game thing.
Yeah.
Gears 5 was that for Xbox.
My first PS5 Platinum.
Yeah, I just think on day one to be able to have Miles Morales, Demon Souls, and Sackboy all at once is a real treat. That was ooh.
So fun. You got one for probably any person who wants to play PS5. If you don't think Demon Souls is appeasing to you, Sackboy's there. If that's appeasing to you, Miles is there. This is really good variety.
Yeah. So this was a really good few launch months. That was just 2020 is just a launch month, so really
if you play on Xbox
PS5.
Then you got Gears 5 or Gears Tactics.
Gears 5's Gear Tactics, and you had Like a Dragon.
They delayed Halo Infinite to next year. That's right.
Yes, that was supposed to be
painful.
Xbox is still in a lot of ways they've caught. Well, no, in a lot of ways they've caught up. I think on the hardware side and everything, they made every move. PS5 game wise has been good, but on the hardware side, I thought Xbox made a lot of smart choices with
the stick batteries and my controller. I don't know.
But yes, on the game side, they are still paying for going all in on TV and media when they should have been investing in game studios.
In some ways, you could say Halo Infinite still has yet to release.
Yes, that's been a mess recently.
That has been.
So not a great launch for Xbox. Only thing I will say is their backwards compatibility, they go above and beyond. You can still play all the Xbox ones, but they have the FPS boost, the resolution bumps, they have a whole team that just works on making games run better. And I really appreciate that, because usually that's, if you're going to go back to an older game, I'll look and make sure there's, see what the Xbox side is doing. So I know exactly what the PlayStation side is doing. And it's just, if it works, it works,
Yeah.
So
Fusion Frenzy is still.
Maybe one day we'll get that kind of a service on the PlayStation side.
Yeah, one day. One day.
One day we'll be able to play older PlayStation games on the PS5.
I want to play Resistance again.
MGS4, come on.
Yeah.
So moving into 2021, if we want to take a look at that for both Xbox and PS5, I think it still looks a little weak for Xbox, but a lot of people will say that they released two of the greatest games ever with Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite in November.
It was a good holiday for Xbox.
I enjoyed Forza.
Yeah.
That's as much as I can say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the fourth game.
Yeah. And what we have to realize too is like Izayah said, there's a lot of games that they share, So it's not like if you just bought an Xbox, you were like, like it wasn't like no one's saying there's a drought, because, a lot of stuff is multi-platform. But looking at the list, like Sony having Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, and Kenna, all three of those games.
Oh, and Deathloop, that only just came to Xbox, didn't it? So that was also.
Put an asterisk there. Yeah, Deathloop.
Yeah, Deathloop.
And a lot of people's game of the year that year.
That was probably my game of the year that year. I freaking love that game.
It's on game. It's free for everyone listening to this today on both platforms. So
it's nuts.
Yeah.
For the Game Passes, right?
Game Pass and PS Plus.
Yeah, that's right. That's insane.
Yeah, that's really cool. So on the exclusive side, I thought Sony. I think their release schedule is really smart too. It looks like they're waiting about 3 months between big releases.
Right. Yeah.
And they're using some their indie games that they backed to fill in some gaps there, like Kenna or Sifu. So it just keeps them in the conversation, and I think. Here's the thing. We'll talk about it later. And the thing is, Forza Horizon 5. It's I played it. It's not my jam. So it's from what I've seen, it seems cool. And then Halo Infinite at launch, I really enjoyed.
It was so much fun for about 10 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, I mean, it's such a shame too, because that game it's like one of the best feeling shooters I've played since whatever Call of Duty. It feels so snappy and good to play and natural. It's just like you need content. You can't just play the same stuff over for 2 years, which is almost what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's a real shame to see how far 2 years in the future Halo Infinite is still struggling a bit. And as someone who played at launch on PC, I was only there for the online segment. I wasn't there for the campaign. Which I'd like to
a lot of fun, by the way.
Really?
But that's not why people stay with Halo. They stay.
No, but that campaign is great. Like that that grappling hook is amazing. You just climb straight up mountains with it. It's like an open world Crackdown or
just
Prototype or Infamous or something in first person, just because it gives you so much mobility. It's just a little slight on the open world stuff.
What about the story?
It's whatever.
Really? Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's what every Halo game is. You're just slightly confused and feel like you missed a cutscene,
Yeah, that's how I felt look at the synopsis for it. I was like, I played 4. I never played 5. I know about it, but this is the game to this game?
But
it's weird.
What I will say though about all these exclusives, I am still yet to have a game where I'm like, oh, this is top 20 of all time in this generation,
There's no Breath of the Wild for you.
Yeah, nothing there's no Bloodborne, there's no Breath of the Wild. We'll get down to 2022. This is the year where I'm starting to be like, wow, we're getting into it, and as good as Ratchet and Clank is a blast, and I think it's great, but it is a Ratchet and Clank game, and those are good. It is what it is. Returnal I didn't love as much as other people did. I enjoyed it, but I just became a little frustrated with it. And then Kenna is actually the surprise for me, where I thought Kenna was freaking really nice.
I did want to point out that some of these third-party games, I wanted to take a look at them because they exist on these two platforms, but might not necessarily exist on the Switch. So taking that into consideration with what the Switch is lacking, you don't get to play games like Control unless you're doing like cloud.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Same thing with RE Village.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're not going to get to play them, every year's Call of Duty on your Switch, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, we're going to talk about hardware, but the nice thing about all the third party and first party stuff is like you get used to those load times, and then you go back to a Switch game and you're like, oh, God, okay. You're like, right. It's not as long. They're not as crazy as like some PS4, like The Witcher 3 on PS4 and Xbox One or whatever.
God.
But
horrible.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're just first party Nintendo though, and because it is card based media and not disc based, the load times aren't really too bad when they know what they're doing.
Not too bad. Yeah. And some ports definitely are just like, why did they decide to put a 30-second load time here? But yeah, so yeah, all that stuff's been really nice. I've enjoyed these consoles. Like I've enjoyed owning both of them. On the exclusive side, if PlayStation is obviously ahead. We haven't even gotten to 2022, but it's the same. It's
nothing but blue there.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, 2022 is dire, dude.
This year, where is Xbox? What are they doing?
They're delaying literally everything under the sun. So.
But they've had some great announcements. I can't deny. We can't deny the fact that they have like a whole year like lineup coming up that looks really good for them.
Yeah, they do really good in their E3s, and they're like, you're like, wow, and then they have the whole Game Pass, and like everything you were just showed will be free day one on Game Pass or whatever. But if it never comes out, then you're like, well, okay, that's cool when it comes out in 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
So it's just Xbox again, just running. They're just paying for their mistakes, and I think they're just going to start gearing up in 2023, and that's not a great message for year 3 of your console.
Yeah. Just to wrap up this section real quick, we got Sifu, Horizon, Ghostwire, Rollerdrome, Stray. I'm not even going to say the next one, and then God of War Ragnarok.
It's Valkyrie Elysium.
Valkyrie Elysium, sorry to Valkyrie Elysium.
Square Enix. Yes. Yeah, I mean, again, just like a really solid year.
And another gut punch to Xbox because Ghostwire it's their game at this point.
Yeah,
PlayStation had funded it before the merger.
Yeah.
Acquisition, I should say.
Yeah. It's weird when you're looking at this on a bubble. It seems a lot more dire for Xbox, but it's weird to come to like reality. Like there's not a lot of people that own an Xbox or are there just like, wow, Sony's like got this in the bag. They won. Like,
sure. I think there never will be.
You're right. But I feel like Xbox One was even worse. Oh no, Xbox One probably had more exclusives and it still didn't work. I just feel like
what Recore and Rise.
Yeah, it wasn't not a great scene there. But I mean, we'll get into hardware and software and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Xbox has made really smart, and also just like PR stuff. Sony kind of first 2 years, I feel like they shot themselves in the foot PR wise, like every chance they got for like 2 years. It was weird. And
for
so
PS4 or PS5,
very corporate of them.
For the PS5 generation, it's not the console. The console is great. The games coming out are really high quality and great, but it's just like they're on their service end, on their like policy end.
Oh, okay.
All of like Jim Ryan's stuff. Like I feel like it started with them not like allowing crossplay, and it's just been like one thing after another. And I feel like they're starting to come around, like get some of that goodwill back. Well, of course, until they raise the price of their own console 2 years in. But yeah, it's been a weird side on. It's been a weird ride on that side where I feel like Xbox is doing a lot of goodwill moves. So
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about services and things like that in a second.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
On the game end, not even a competition. Like
right,
Sony is spanking them.
Unless God War Ragnarok is just a disaster, and
even then,
5 out of 10.
Even then, it's
don't
like,
even play it.
There's enough. The holiday's theirs. Well, theirs. Well, it's Nintendo's too. Nintendo has a really good year.
I will say I stopped at November 10th to be within the year, so I didn't include anything releasing after God War.
Yeah.
Troy, what is Nintendo's like holiday kind of thing going on?
I mean, they have Bayonetta.
Oh,
Bayonetta 3 is a big one. I feel like there's something else. Well, Splatoon was, Bayonetta was. I feel like I'm missing something.
Nintendo's year has been really stacked.
Yeah, it's been a really good year for them. I'm sure there's something else.
A lot of B tier games as opposed to their Breath of the Wild and Odyssey.
Yes, well they're backing up their beat. Well, they have all these games, but they're also announcing big games at the same time. So It's just still exciting. It's exciting, but a part of me is just like, man, I wish I could play these on my PS5 or Xbox X. You know?
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up the game section, I just wanted to say I'm gonna have a little scoreboard here on my sheet of paper. So to wrap up the game section, who do we want to give it to? Who has the lineup for the first 2 years?
I guess Sony.
Stadia.
Oh.
Did it even last 2 years? Like, I don't.
It's still around. There's still something.
It's free for Google.
I got an email from them like last week. They were like, "Hey, come in and get the free game this month or whatever."
But they shut down their first party.
You're still charging? Oh yeah, yeah. They did that like a year and a half ago. They never released anything. It was Jade Raymond.
Oh, weird.
Who is now working on a game with Sony. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they just like we'll give you the money to make a game, and we won't just like shut it all down because we're incompetent.
So I got one vote for Sony.
Oh yeah, Sony. It's without question.
Even with Breath of the Wild and Mario.
Yeah, even with Breath of the Wild, it feels weird. But
wait. We're including Switch?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize that.
Of the podcast.
Oh. I was thinking with Xbox versus PlayStation. I'm like, this is not even a
dumb question.
That's the thing. Actually, within these first 2 years, I think Odyssey and Breath of the Wild are awesome, but I think there's just a lot of games on here that are super solid. Like none of them are. It's like having 2 S tiers versus like an army of A and B tiers.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you
right now. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Sony. I think
I'm gonna go Sony too.
If Nintendo, if we included the lifespan like all the way, catching up to Xbox and like Sony, like actually could like consistently catching up, I would honestly give it to Nintendo, but since you're only doing first 2 years,
well, we don't know what like the next 3 years of PlayStation 5 are, so that's kind of a hard call to make at this point.
Okay, yeah, fair, but I'm just saying like from what I played. But yeah, Sony still got it. Nintendo.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on over to hardware. Our favorite place to play. What are your guys' favorite controllers? Let's start easy.
PS5. It's really good.
PS5 controller.
I still like the Xbox controller a little better.
Those staggered sticks.
I like the staggered sticks. I like the triggers, and I've not been. There are a couple games on the DualSense that like really sell it, and when it's hitting, it's like, wow, this is like really cool and awesome. But for the most part, a lot of times I'm turning off features on the DualSense. Like I think in Control, like the trigger pull on like the guns felt awful on that, and I was like, wow, this makes it. In Returnal, like it lowers your fire rate by a lot. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, like on a pistol, it's per trigger pull. So
but also,
I was doing like 300% more damage than when I turned off the resistance. But the haptics are really nice.
Example of that with your problem, Troy, is like a game like Fortnite allows like a haptic feedback for your PS5. Often I feel like sometimes if I need like a quick reflex like situation, turning it off feels better for me, honestly. But at some point you kind of just get used to the haptic feedback that you just don't notice it until you actually like
Yeah, I have no problem with the haptics. I like the haptics. I think it's a better way of, it's a more modern way of doing vibration and stuff. It's just the triggers that haven't been that impressive. But I think it's even past that, just the shape of it and stuff. The Xbox controller, especially the one, especially the Series one, it fits in my hand like perfectly. I have pretty large hands, so it feels really nice. But yeah, and as far as the batteries not coming with it, I'm kind of in a weird end because I always thought the DualShock and the DualSense battery life is like not. That's why I bought a second controller when Elden Ring came out, is so I could swap between the two, because I couldn't get like 2 play sessions in without it dying. Whereas, yes, I had to buy like batteries for my Xbox controller, but those batteries last me like a month, where I never have to recharge the controller. And
I use them a lot for my PC.
I'd rather do that.
My batteries in my Xbox controller, I swear, last about 4 hours, and then I'm changing them.
What kind of batteries are you using?
It's not important.
Yeah, you got those like Amazon Basic like 80 packs that just
Members Mark like.
God, no.
Members Mark. I'm actually using that one too.
Yeah, if you just put in like a Duracell or like an Energizer, they last like a month. It's crazy.
I don't think they lasted a month. I have like good batteries in the controller, and I maybe get like 3 days. So I don't know. Maybe I just play more than you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very much against Xbox batteries. Like I hate that. It doesn't negate everything good about the controller, but I just hate that one thing.
Anything I can replace, I also appreciate, because once the battery dies on your controller, that's it, unless you take it apart. So I do appreciate.
I've never had a battery die in a controller. I mean,
it depends how long you've had. If you plugged in your DualShock that you haven't charged in like 2 or 3 years, that battery's kind of done.
What are you doing if you have a DualShock you haven't charged that long? Like, do you just forget about the system? Like,
yeah. The pandemic.
You don't need
happened,
it. You don't need it.
Yeah, but whatever. I just the design of the controller. I think the Xbox edges it, but it's so close. Like they're both just freaking awesome. So
I just want to know, for functionality, what is your favorite controller to play on?
Yeah, PS5. Still.
I would say I really like the new Series controllers. I like the clicky D-pad.
Maybe I'm just different, or trying to be different. I don't know, but like I really like the Switch Pro controller.
The face buttons are awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's got those thick face buttons.
It's good, but I think I got the launch one with like the terrible D-pad, and it's almost impossible for me to use.
Oh, no, mine are great. So yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's like a thing. Those launch ones came out really bad.
Yeah, I don't like the Xbox's clicky D-pad. It wakes up my wife, and she hates it.
Well, as someone who didn't really play with a whole lot of Xbox controllers during the Xbox One console, now I have the S, but I really use the controller on the PC. I think I may have used it for like one game on the Series S, so I haven't really used it a lot with the actual console. But I actually have quite a bit of time with it on the PC now, and I do like it a lot. But there's just, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, it's just because I'm used to holding the PS5 one. I just feel like I like the feeling of it better in my hand. I love the dedicated map button for games. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that now. Like, I love having that dedicated map button. It's going to be weird if I ever play a game and I don't have that big fat rectangle button to hit.
Yeah, you're never going to miss it. It's always going to be, your thumb's right on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. It's a great, I guess, not a dedicated map button. A lot of games it's like an inventory button, and I really like it for that too. And I don't use it I don't use it a whole lot, but the little speaker on the controller is really nice. Like, I'll jump in a party on Fortnite and I can't find the USB thing for my headphones. So I'll jump in a party and say like, "Hey, give me a minute, I got to find my headphones," and then put the controller on. Stuff like that. I really like the functionality with the DualSense. So I'm gonna give it to PlayStation.
Yeah, it's fair. Right. It's like a toss up for me, but it just, I think the only difference between the Xbox One and Series is they shrunk it by 10%, and then they replaced the D-pad. And there's some like smaller, there's little changes all over it, but yeah, I think it's just a solid all around good controller.
I will say I love the texture on the triggers on the Xbox controller though.
Yeah. I need to get me. I'm looking at that Elite Series 2. I'm eyeing that thing real hard.
Oh yeah. They just announced the PlayStation one, right?
Oh yes, they did.
Whatever they call it.
That thing's going to be like $200.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I know I'm not going to get it, but
yeah,
it's interesting.
That's the thing. The series, I haven't got either of them. I'm probably not going to get the Pro version of either of them because they're just so solid, like their base forms are. You know.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need a $200 controller.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So yeah, they're both great. So PlayStation's got the hardware, our controller.
It's got the controller. Yeah. So
all right.
I don't know if this question's worth asking. For functionality alone, which console's best?
What do you mean functionality?
Yeah.
So not taking into account like, ooh, it looks pretty on my shelf.
Oh, well, if it's that, then the Series X wins. But
I want to say the Switch,
or maybe the Switch. Yeah, I was about to say the Switch
because of portability.
Small.
Yeah, actually,
interesting.
I like that, and I think I can agree with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. The form factor of the Switch is the Switch. You don't. Yeah,
sure. That's easier than I thought. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now I was going to ask aesthetics. So for hardware, your overall experience with the aesthetics of your system, who do you think wins? Who's got the best aesthetics?
I actually I don't even have the Series S, but I kind of love the way it looks. I
small.
I know. I just want to like steal it and put it in a backpack.
I have put it in a backpack
me too.
several times.
Yeah, it's great.
I think the PS5 is what it is. I hate the stand. I
hate the stand. Yeah,
I hate the stand. If they make a revision of the PS5, I'm going to be on that so fast.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like the color scheme, I got the dark plates, and that made it more pleasing to my eye. But yeah,
sorry.
Go for it.
Okay, so we're talking aesthetics, right? Like design.
Pretty.
Yes.
Pretty. I'm gonna be real. Let's be real. Nintendo Switch. It's like it looks iconic to me. The way the Switch kind of just slides in and like how it's like has like the silhouette. I don't know. I like it. I love how it looks.
It does feel iconic. That is a good word for it.
Yeah.
It genuinely does.
But sitting on the shelf, I always thought you were used to seeing it now, but the base is always kind of weird to get with the cord sticking out, and
I think it's ugly.
It looks cheap.
Yeah, I think the base is like cheap.
Okay, yeah.
If you can set it up correctly to where like it's facing you with the controllers facing you, especially the OLED model, that looks decent. But usually the way the wires run, you're just staring at the side of the system, and it looks so silly.
I think the Switch Lite has a really good aesthetic.
Yeah,
I like the way the Switch Lite.
I forgot about that.
There's too many iterations. Yeah, which one are we even talking about?
Yeah, I know. But as far as like what looks good sitting on my shelf, I really do like the Series S and X. They're just.
I'm actually with Troy on this one.
They're great.
Okay.
I like the PS5.
I think it's ugly.
I know, and I understand how divisive it is. But I freaking love. I love the big wings, and I love that you can take them off and do whatever you want with them and put them back on. I freaking love that.
That's my big appeal to it
someone
too.
who's had to lug a PS5 around a couple of times, it's so annoying. It's so big.
I have. Yeah, I do that a lot.
Awful. I think I have to put it in sideways, and I think it looks a lot worse on its sideways profile than it does standing up. But yeah, I mean, I give it to Xbox. I really like how portable and compact the Series S looks. It's very clean. And the X feels like it's just, I don't know. When you pick up something that's just like feels like good weight in the hand, like a good balanced weight, like a heavy magnet or something, like something compact and stuff. There's something about holding the Series X. You're like, man, this is just a dense box of gaming.
Yeah. I do definitely think Xbox should win this. However, I hate the way the S looks. It looks like a drive-through speaker, and I can never look at it and not hate it.
I like when it's laying down in a media center. I don't like the big circle on it.
Every time I look at it, it reminds me of that cheap console thing that Soulja Boy tried to sell everybody. That's what I think every time I look at it, but that's not necessarily its fault.
Well, we'll give it to the Series X then to make you feel better.
There.
Honestly,
yeah, that thing is such a cool console. And also the memory slot on the back. Like I just saw one used for like pretty cheap, a terabyte, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want it. It's easy.
I prefer
memory in.
I prefer the S a little bit more, the X, to be honest. But I keep cutting y'all off. I'm sorry, guys.
Right. It's all good.
No,
we're giving it to Xbox.
All right, cool.
We're going to talk about UI, I guess, for software. Is that considered software?
The UI, I think UI can be its own like separate thing.
Well, then we'll make it its own thing. Let's talk about the UI, your user experience and such.
Which sucks. The Switch freaking sucks with the UI.
Yeah. The Switch
so hard.
The store doesn't have any music. It's laggy. It's really
so laggy.
Yeah.
annoying.
2, 4, 5.5 years later.
Can we pick a loser?
It's a Switch.
Yeah, Switch is the biggest loser. Shown in a locker.
Yeah,
get out of here.
They haven't done enough to do. They haven't done barely anything.
Anything, right? I mean, like,
I guess.
One thing.
You still have two options: light or dark. And I can't believe that.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. But I will say this: the only thing I like from like the Switch is I can go to a game on a store and go to the company and look at their catalog of games. That's nifty. That's pretty cool. But
yeah,
I don't care.
The store on PlayStation 5 is like barely even a store. It's like a drop down.
Yes, it is.
I don't like it at all.
What does Xbox do?
They have like a store. It's like that's the thing. None of these have great stores. I think like Steam wipes the floor with all of them.
Oh, absolutely.
But I feel like the Xbox has the better store. And which console came the longest way in their first 2 years? I would say the PS5 was kind of dire when it came out.
Yeah, that store was playing.
I don't know. I really liked the redesign of the PlayStation UI. I felt like it was really easy to find anything you wanted. And I felt like I didn't like. What do you?
I feel like everything.
What are you looking for in the store? Because I feel like I have a perfectly fine time with the store.
Sometimes I just want to get a list that's like, hey, what are the new releases? Where's the sales? Where's this? And it's kind of hard to parse those out in sections.
Yeah.
The PS Plus stuff is like weirdly in different spots.
Yeah. So I'm like, am I looking at the right section?
Game Pass stuff is so much easier to comb through.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I feel like now it makes more sense for the Plus and the store to kind of have a separate, like a tab or whatever you call it.
But even that isn't great. Like sometimes I just want a little section like a Game Pass has where it's just like recently released, and I can at least just see the last 15 games they released, that sort of thing. As far as the PS5 UI, I think it looks really nice. I feel like everything just got put into submenus, like trying to look at someone's friend's trophies. It's like, okay, friends, click them, click profile, tab over to trophy. And then when the trophies first came out, they weren't even vertical. They were like all horizontal, and you're like, "Oh my god!" I'm like,
yeah, the trophy menu sucked. I think it is better now than it ever has been.
Yes, yeah. They've
take
done
like
a lot.
6 months to get there.
They've done a lot.
I feel like I hated getting to achievements in Xbox. I was confused for a good while trying to get to it. I was like, where was it again? Every time I got on.
360 UI is so good. I'm sorry, I like 360 so much.
Yeah, so we'll just type 360. Cool.
But the PS4 trophies and stuff was just dead simple and fast. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The problem is it was just the Xbox One UI with a few touches and pulled over. So from day one, I knew everything that was going on what I was trying to do. And like on the PS5 side, like the party system sucked. Like I just kept saying like, wow, they already figured this out on the PS4. Why did they like change this?
Right.
And it's hard to compare it versus where it started now. They made a lot of good changes. But I think Xbox has just kept it a little more cohesive, I think.
So you're voting Xbox?
I'm voting Xbox. I think it's kind of more of a toss-up if you're playing them both now, but it took like PS5 a year I don't know if this counts as UI, probably not. But this probably counts in like overall console stuff. But like, like PlayStation, as far as like video features and like HDR, like and audio, all the menu stuff, like PS5 was missing a lot. It wouldn't let you do like 1440p. It wouldn't let you like PS5 wouldn't let you control when the HDR pops on and off. And I had a lot of trouble with my OLED doing stuff I didn't want to do.
Are all these problems fixed at this point?
Now, as of like a few months ago, yeah, they figured it out.
But also in the first 2 years.
But also to change all the video settings on Xbox, they have a lot of tools that help you figure out what your display does. Like you press like a tool button and it tells you like everything from audio to video to HDR to VRR to all that stuff, and lays it out all in this big list. And it says like, compatible with this TV, not. So it gives you a big list so you don't have to do research on the side.
So I think I agree that Xbox might have the better UI as far as functionality, which is my favorite. That's my word of the day.
Yeah.
But I think I prefer PS5's aesthetic, the way it looks. It looks sharp. It's so pleasant. It's great. It feels like the modern tech that you want it to feel like.
Yeah. I will like to ask y'all a quick question though. Since we all have a PS5, I want to ask, do you think the removal of change of UI and themes was okay move? Do you miss the themes? Do you want them back, or do you feel very content with that?
I thought I would miss them more than I actually do.
I never once had a good theme on my PlayStation 4.
I feel like I had a lot. And that's why I thought I'd miss them. But
every single good one would have like an ugly just logo, like the title of the game in the corner or something. And like,
not every single one.
No.
It was so hard to get a good one. Like
some Final Fantasy.
The majority were just ugly.
But on the PS4 one, like you would get a good one, and then the sound effects would be awful. So, but you could control that. But all three of them don't have themes or anything, so I guess it's a toss up. It doesn't really put one or the other above it.
No,
but I do miss it.
Yeah, me too. It's just like
on the PS5 side, I just feel like they took away some easy use stuff that they already nailed. I think the PS4 at its end is still better than the current Xbox UI as far as like easy use and where everything is. And maybe that's just because I used it for 7 years, but it was really simple. I don't know.
No, it really was. It's just like two slides. You have like the slide down where it's like, oh, all their games, your apps. Up is just like, oh, here's like all the configuration stuff.
It's XMB stuff,
Literally, it feels, it isn't even changed. I don't know why they did change it, but I'm fine with it now.
Are you guys comfortable to go for a vote?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it. Troy, your vote is Xbox, right?
Yeah.
You said PS4? Okay.
I thought you said 360 earlier.
360 and PS4 have better UIs in both current generations, but whatever.
Oh, I didn't mention this. When you download your games, it tells you what's enhanced, what's a 1 game, what's a 360 game, and
Troy,
then
you won my vote.
And it'll tell you whether it puts the auto HDR on, if it gave it the frame rate boost. Like it's great.
Despite me not liking how it looks, I do have to give it to Xbox. It does have a lot of features. The way everything's organized can be more straightforward.
Oh, and they just outed how long to beat information on every game.
Interesting.
On Xbox.
Whatever.
Yeah,
that is
I use that site all the time. So,
Colton, what's your vote?
I don't have a lot of experience with Xbox. So I feel like I'm just going off on how it looks, and I'd just have to go with PlayStation, I guess.
All right, it's a tie, everybody. I don't know the type. It's a tie.
Yeah, it's PS5, Xbox. Yeah.
We said the Switch lost. We were right.
We're all right with that.
Oh yeah, God.
All right, we're gonna skip to backwards compatibility. Save services for last.
Okay.
Backwards compatibility. I think we all know that Xbox for the longest time now has been very considerate to its backlog and updating it and making it run on the current consoles.
It
actively
actively made me regret playing most of my multi-platform stuff on PS3.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, I think PlayStation is doing a good job at like trying to claw their way back with all their backlog. It's just that for so long they said no, screw it, nobody wants to play old games. So now they're having to figure out how do we get the old stuff working on the PS5.
Yeah, I mean their legacy
incredible to watch.
Is, their plus premium stuff, like their library is really good, actually.
Yeah.
You know, but
talking about like the game catalog.
Yeah, the free game catalog.
Yeah,
it's nice. It's really nice.
Well, because the premium comes with legacy games, right? Like the old stuff.
Yeah,
old stuff.
The legacy stuff is a disaster.
So not great.
No,
for this
bad
argument for this voting situation we have here.
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good to vote now. We could break it down piece by piece. But
the Switch, like I said, has their ports and they're fantastic ports.
I think a lot of
fantastic games, but
true. But then they charge,
and it's also just the last generation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
what esports isn't on the Switch?
No.
Xbox, right? Xbox for
Xbox. Okay.
Yeah, they have a literal team that spent years making those games run well on their consoles.
I find it ridiculous. I can play like old Sonic games through like backwards compatibility for Xbox and not PlayStation. That's so stupid to me.
Yeah, all the enhanced stuff is just.
The 60 frames 4K for or 60 frames for just the patch for Sonic Unleashed is something I'll never get to experience unless I actually buy it for Xbox. And it sucks.
Now, will we ever get that day when they're like, hey, we finally found out how to make PS3 stuff work?
I don't know.
I feel like if they could have, they would have. I think the architecture on that thing, I mean, they figured out how to do it on PC-wise through like emulation, but they would have to put in so much money and resources, and I think they would rather...
think they will at some point?
I think they would spend more money remaking a game that came out 8 years ago more than they will focus. That's like the longest they'll focus. I think The Last of Us remake or something would take precedent, money-wise. That's not how it works. I mean, that's not fair. I don't think so.
Play Resistance 3.
I don't think so.
I mean, all 3 Resistance games.
I'll never say never. It might get to a point where they can just brute force it. But the way the cell architecture works, I think it's going to take a team of engineers to figure it out. I don't think it's ever just going to be able to like emulate it straight up. If I had to put money on, I'd say no. Like Sony wanted to shut down the PS3 and Vita store,
yeah, I guess.
Which would cut off all your purchases anyway. Well, it wouldn't cut your purchases, but they're actively trying to shut down their legacy stuff, not support it,
All right. To finish off this section, services, which I'm just talking about Game Pass, Nintendo Switch Online versus PlayStation Plus. This is actually what inspired me to make this topic. I really was brainstorming about what I cared about, and that is, who am I going to pay money monthly or yearly to just drip feed me games that I don't really even ever want to play? So, what do you guys think about that?
I think I have had, Game Pass with this PC for a while now, and that's how I played most of my games on this computer. Has been Game Pass. Some of it has come from Epic, some of the free games they've given out, but I've played a lot of Game Pass games and I've come to really like it. But this game catalog on PlayStation Plus, I mean, there's an infinite amount of games I actually want to play more over there than I do Game Pass. So I didn't expect this. I was expecting to not like it as much as Game Pass, but I think I have flipped. I think I'm really liking the games that have come with the PlayStation Plus thing.
PlayStation needed this. I think PlayStation has always needed a Game Pass, and now that it has it, I'm so happy to have it, and I love using it too. I like looking at the store and be like, all right, so what games do I have for free? And I'm like, oh, I have this one for free. I can just play right here. So it feels great in terms of like both these services, Game Pass for Xbox and PlayStation. I genuinely kind of feel like Xbox has just a better variety, in my opinion. I always scroll through and be like, oh, this game's on here. I've been meaning to play this and this and this. Versus PlayStation, where I'm like, yeah, this game has like, Returnal, Demon Souls. I'm like, I want to play these games, but these games in the Xbox Game Pass interest me more. In fact, was it Toho Luna Nights? Like that game hooked me on completely to like Game Pass. I was like, wow, something new that I didn't think I would find really fun, but here I am like gawking at it. It's great. So in terms of both services for like we're talking like online and Game Pass, right?
No.
Nah,
Okay.
it's probably more their actual like service side.
Online experience
Okay.
for PlayStation, Xbox, they're the
These
same.
are about the same.
They're the same. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think personally they're about the same. They serve up like they bring stuff to the table for both sides of like what people want to play and don't care about. Like, I think to me, in terms of services, with Game Pass included in the online experience for PlayStation and Xbox exclusively, or specifically, not you, Nintendo, I think it's kind of even. If I were to choose, Xbox has my favorite a little bit more.
It's weird because I agree with Colton that they're backwards, like their library of PS4 versus just like their Xbox One games, because that's kind of what they are, or even PS5 games and stuff. I think they have a stronger just like bulk library, and a lot of that is because Xbox has made a lot of ground in Japan, but there's still more Japanese games on PlayStation that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Only thing that gives Game Pass just another level past that for me is the day one release clip that they're doing is
nice. What day one release of what?
Just look monthly at their new release radar. They're not like the greatest games in the world, but they're still day one games you wouldn't have bought anyway.
That's my problem. All the games that I'm looking at that I want to get, whether it be indie or AAA, I'm like, oh, I hope that comes to Game Pass, and it never does.
Yeah. Well, Hollow. You'll wait for Hollow Knight, but is
that coming day one?
Yes, that is a day one Game Pass game.
Well, there's one.
But, it's hard to. We're talking about the last years. I'm trying not to look at the future, but even with that, I think even just like having Halo and Forza and Gears, even their slight release on those releases, they were no brainers because I could just download them.
Mm-hmm.
And as it picks up, that's what I mean. Even since Xbox One, I've had a lot of games come out day one. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I don't have to pay the $15-$20 to just even check this out and see if I like it. Yeah. So
right.
I think Game Pass, and I think the PC, like you get the PC streaming and the console stuff all under one roof. I think it's still a stronger package, even though I do agree with Colton that their base catalog, just because of how well the PS4 was supported, is stronger. So I'd still say Xbox, but it's closer than I would have thought. That is for sure.
I don't have PlayStation Plus, but I do feel, looking at the catalog of PlayStation Plus and comparing it to what I have, I'm a little envious. I'm thinking like, what did I do? Like, it feels like the grass is greener, right? Like all the games that I wish I could play are over there. Right. But in reality, a lot of those are probably going to be PS3 games that I have to have a good internet connection to play, and I do not have that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cons.
Whenever you see a PS3 game in there, you just kind of disregard.
Yeah. Unless you live in the center of one of the United States' biggest cities, you probably don't.
It only streams at like 720p, like just on technology end even.
Just
it doesn't stream as well as the other streamers offerings like Nvidia or Xbox or whatever.
I just realized a flaw in my logic creating this, that the Switch Online didn't really exist for the first year or even two. When did
you're right. Well, we didn't. I think it's nice to go back to some retro games, and they had a few. I don't know if Tetris and stuff. Like Tetris 99 came out within the first 2 years. I forget. But either way, it doesn't win. So
sure. I was just like, does it even qualify for the first 2 years of?
I forget the timeline on that.
I guess it's just irrelevant. Switch is the loser.
I like to say though, one thing that I want to give another point to Xbox for, cloud gaming is like so cool. I've seen our friend Dalton come to our house and play what was it, Dragon Quest, like seamlessly.
Yeah, he played a lot of Dragon Quest on his phone.
It was so cool to see. I could never
cool.
I could never pull that off like with any like the remote control with your phone for PS5. I did not like it, but cloud gaming for Xbox looks so nice.
I've actually used the thing on the phone with the PS5 quite a bit, and I was on the same home Wi-Fi. I was just in a different room, but like I played Apex with it at one point, and I was getting a couple kills. Like it wasn't horrible. I will say that.
It was
so for like a slower game, it probably would have been fine.
Yeah, like an RPG or something, like Dragon Quest. Yeah, that's perfect.
I was trying to play Street Fighter Third Strike with the phone.
Oh, if I play a fighting game, that.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, that's not good.
Even though PlayStation doesn't release its first-party stuff day and date, I do believe that there's previous releases and you're like, oh, it's a year-old game. It's still, you're getting it as part of that service. If you missed it, like you've got one of probably the greatest games of the previous year or two now in that catalog, just because it was delayed, didn't come day and date. Like Xbox only has 0 to 2 games a year that they release first party, at least thus far.
Yeah.
So, who knows again in the future what is going to come out of Xbox or if PlayStation is going to decide to go day and date with their first party.
Yeah. My FOMO kind of ruins the PS5 library a little bit for me because I'll just I'll spend the $70. Right. I'm not going to like wait a year to play those. So a lot of that list is just like, this is a really cool list of games and it's really cool. Awesome that people that don't buy like, 20, 30, 40 games a year can play a lot of these, but both the Game Pass backlog list and also PlayStation, it's kind of not the most important thing to me as it is to other people. It's just because I own most of these games that I want to play.
You play a lot,
yeah. So it's tough for me to weigh that versus the day one. Like,
but when I go through the Game Pass in the place, I mean, I'm looking at 99% of 99% of that stuff I've never played. So I feel like. It helps me to to look forward to those services and stuff. And hey, how long did it take for Game Pass to get as many games as it did? Because I feel like they got a lot of games like almost instantly. Wasn't it like Game Pass? It was like 50 games or something at first.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't even like Xbox's main strategy. It was just like them throwing out something in like 2017 on the Xbox One when it was floundering. They're like, I don't know this. We'll see what happens, and it just turns out that it's slowly. I think it's slowly built up. That's the thing. If we talk about this in a year, it could be very different. If literally like you just throw Diablo and the new Call of Duty on Game Pass, and it's $70 on the other consoles. Like that's what I mean. It's a hard conversation. I think it's close now. In a year or two, it just depends on Xbox's output. But even those two Activision games alone could make a service like that be kind of nuts.
All right, I'm gonna call a vote then.
Yeah, let's do it. Like I said, it's so much closer than I thought it would have been.
Yeah, it really does feel like
before the PS Plus stuff came out, but I would still say Game Pass just because of day one indie stuff. Even if I don't love them, I just like, wow, I got hands on that and didn't have to pay $20,
Yeah,
like
true.
Metal Hellsinger, I played one level and was like, I get it. This is a cool game. I probably won't play it again,
I'm really torn. Colton, do you have any idea what you're voting for?
I'm not a PlayStation shill. I promise. I have to go Plus. I guess.
One for PlayStation.
I'm not trying to be. I swear.
PS5 is a strong console.
If I had the okay. Colton, earlier you made a point, right? About like how Plus how Plus feels in terms of like the catalog, and were you specifically calling towards like the legacy stuff too, or you were just mostly talking about like the premium or like the
extra?
Extra.
Isaiah's raising a good point right now. Actually, having the 360 stuff be native and the OG makes Game Pass very cool too.
Yeah.
It's just backwards. That's more coming back to the backwards compatibility section.
Yeah, because what's actually on Game Pass is just their first party stuff and like some of EA's stuff.
Yeah, and Bethesda, and you know.
Yeah, well,
like
that's Xbox stuff. Yeah,
but yeah. I don't know if that changes the entire conversation, but
no, I don't think
it's interesting to think about, though. It's just interesting.
It actually, in my mind, it kind of brings some clarity because a lot of what is on my Game Pass that I want to play is just old games from EA or Bethesda.
But Xbox already won the backwards compatibility,
right? So it's like, those just happen to be there, and like of the newer stuff, it's mostly indies that I've never heard of that I don't want to play. And I do want to play stuff on PlayStation, so I might have to say PlayStation.
You know what? I could see us saying PlayStation. Is PlayStation winning this as of now, but in a year or two, you know?
Like I said, we're talking like
Xbox, but toss up.
Yeah, like services and like as a whole, you got Xbox game clouding, clouding game, whatever, with the amazing backwards compatibility, with Game Pass being such a accessible thing, like price wise too. Like, let's be real, price wise is amazing, but PlayStation has so many games that it gives you that I would want to play this. Never had the money, but I can give a subscription and get these.
That's a good point. Can we? What is the price? So for the
boy.
So
I'm sorry.
Well, no. I mean, I just that's a good point. What's the?
I just hate looking.
How do they compare?
It's like $15 a month for the ultimate package, which
it's ultimate package $10. It's $10 if you just gotta get the PC, which is me. I'm only the PC guy, but
or just the console with whichever you do.
Yeah.
So ultimate's $14.99 and PlayStation Plus Extra is also $14.99 a month. Is that right?
Isn't it $15 for the PC? I thought I got like the lowest tier I could get, and I think it's $15.
No, it's lower. It's 15 is for that's everything.
Are you buying it monthly or yearly or?
They don't let you buy it yearly, do they?
Yeah. Not anymore.
No,
okay.
It's just monthly.
Okay. Wait
which I hate.
Extra?
I hate that
for Xbox.
For Xbox. Oh yeah, that's
PlayStation's the same way. You have to pay monthly.
No,
it's pay yearly. Year.
That's what I did. I pay $100 for it.
But it comes to what you would be paying monthly for Xbox.
Depends what version.
I know for the
extra.
I think the console version
extra is $100.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah, $100.
Well, if we're doing console versus console only subscription, I think the Game Pass on just Xbox is like $5. Maybe not.
Oh, really?
Let me look.
Yeah,
you guys keep going.
I thought it was 10.
So wait. So what are our votes at? Because I'm going Xbox. Izayah sounds like he's going Xbox.
I really am.
I'm going PlayStation because I feel like they pulled out the stops to actually compete.
Yeah, they did. I feel
like Game Pass over the past year, for me, I've enjoyed it less and less and less.
That's fair. You know, I'm not using my PC Game Pass as much, but in terms of quality of services and variety that Xbox has, I have to give it to them because that intrigues me and that makes me want to be like, hey, I want to buy your console just for the fact that I can play Sonic Unleashed 6 frames per second. But like that.
I'm ruling this a tie.
It really is.
Fair. And honestly, I would have been, like I said, like, yeah, good luck making a Game Pass a rival. But I think Game Pass kind of lives and dies on its day one releases, and that's tied to its release, which has been almost non-existent. So, I mean, just the fact that Xbox has no release and we're still tying it also says kind of good things about Game Pass too. So it's kind of weird. They both met in the middle this year when it comes to services.
Yeah. And this is a good jumping off point to our next section, which is the future. Who will land on top? Who's going to win?
Who will come out on top?
So, like you said, Game Pass could easily start really pumping out their first party support and getting all those day one is going to be.
I mean, if that Microsoft deal comes through and, you know, we're getting Starfield come early next year, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Once Xbox, even the Xbox studios, if you're not into their games, just like the Activision Blizzard and the Bethesda output alone, it's a very small amount of gamers that are going to say, no, I don't care about any of those games. You know what I mean?
What Activision's releasing no Call of Duty next year.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that.
I believe so.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
That's great.
And then we got Overwatch 2?
Oh, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4.
Oh, yeah.
Diablo's
definitely playing
those
Diablo.
are both big deal games, you know?
Yeah, and if that's on Game Pass, then awesome. But
well, not just Game Pass. Those might straight up be maybe I don't know. Those might just be straight up Xbox exclusives, which would be.
We know Call of Duty won't be exclusive, but
not for
we haven't heard
years.
anything on the rest.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I don't know how long they've been developing Diablo. Overwatch 2 is coming to both. That's not
okay.
exclusive.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Diablo 4, like you said, it's been in development for so long.
I bet it still comes on PlayStation.
Yeah, because all of that money sunk into making the. But then again, Xbox would just be like, nah.
Yeah, if like they start releasing games of that caliber, not to mention like if we're talking who will come up at top at the end, like at some point Bethesda's going to release Elder Scrolls 6, and it's going to be a Game Pass exclusive. You know. Like, think of something on like that scale. It's hard for me to imagine that, that a game of that scale on Game Pass exclusive with a console that's like priced maybe at $250 for the Series S at that point. Like, that could be huge.
I just want to point out that tallying up our scoreboard for the previous section, I believe PlayStation and Xbox tied. So, that's just kind of where we're at, right? They're so comparable. They're so similar that we're just waiting for the next step. Like, what are we going to get out of, like you said, the Activision merger or acquisition, and what's coming from PlayStation? Are we getting more like new IP, or is it just going to be the next Horizon and the next Ghost of Tsushima? Like, what are we actually getting? Are we getting another Ratchet and Clank, Colton?
Oh, I hope so.
It's so weird.
That's cool. Will said Diablo is on the PlayStation Store as of right now.
Order.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just
thank you, Will.
If the Microsoft acquisition like it's happening, right? We know it's going to happen. Like they're already merging right now with also like what is it?
More than likely, it's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. If this is the case, and probably is, I don't think that really does a lot, in my opinion, for Microsoft. I only see how it benefits me as the player for both Xbox stuff and like mostly PlayStation. I think it's just how it is. I guess are we trying to?
Like having the next Elder Scrolls exclusive to your console is
a
wildly massive deal.
We're mostly thinking about how where players go to for like these consoles. Like we're thinking like, or then go to like.
It just depends. Like the way I see it is the hardcore. If you're like a hardcore gamer, more than likely you bought yourself a PlayStation 5 because that's where. That's where those big AAA games are going. That was like, it's still
if you can get
a cooler console.
Still.
Yeah.
But when it breaks out, and maybe in a few years when people who aren't like super big gamers and they're wanting to finally upgrade from their Xbox One or PS4 because, whatever game franchise is not coming backwards anymore, they're going to look at a Series S. And I feel like the Series S is kind of the key and Game Pass together.
The gateway, yeah.
I feel like Sony is going to do great with the PS5. But I don't see their strategy changing from the PS5 to PS4. I think they're just going to keep putting out really solid, like hardcore games for that core group. But people that didn't buy a PS4 and didn't care to play Spider-Man and God of War on the PS4 is not suddenly going to want,
Then what's wrong with you?
Which there's a good amount of people that
I know.
They have a PS4 and they just play like Call of Duty, and if Xbox becomes that default again, and they really even if Call of Duty isn't exclusive, if it's $70 on PlayStation and free with a subscription with the much cheaper console, especially worldwide. I mean, they just increased the price of the PS5. I don't know. It's hard to say because the PS5 has a lot of momentum behind it still. So
you don't get trophies on Xbox. That's a bummer.
You don't. And to that, and also it's interesting that we're talking about Switch Pro because the Switch is on another level. The Switch is going to beat the PS4. It's going to, every game that comes out is like a 10 million plus seller, which is what Sony would like dream of, for like Luigi's Mansion 2 outsold God of War and Spider-Man,
Oh,
really? Handily.
Wow.
Like every single one of their games does like about 10 million plus easy. And some of those are like to the 30 plus million range at this point. Like it's not even like Sony wants, that's what they want. They want those types of hits and they need those types of hits. And like Nintendo is quietly just dominating like the living room, like the family environment,
I would imagine that's how it's always going to be. Like having the family focus is important, and I don't think Sony and Xbox they don't have a good grasp on that right now. They've lost control of their lovable characters and their like platforming franchises. They're just not putting the money into it.
With Sackboy and
that's true, and there's another Sackboy game in development, I believe.
Yeah. And if we're talking, I think it's more interesting. We're talking about a Switch Pro. If they're going to be able to replicate that and keep the momentum they have with the Switch, or who knows what their strategy is? They might not even think of it as a separate console. It could just be in the Switch family. So I would say either way, it'd be really hard to stop Nintendo at this point. I don't know if you guys saw the news, but Splatoon 2 in Japan is the fastest selling game ever in Japan, like
Splatoon
in
3?
Japan's history. Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They sold 3 million units alone in Japan, which is a wild number.
It was like all within the first weekend or whatever.
First 24 hours. Yeah, you think of Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy. Like it didn't just like it's not just the best selling game in like the first 24 hours in Japan. It's like 5 or 6 times more than the last record. It's so ridiculous. So I don't know. The Switch, if we're including the Switch in this conversation, I think the more interesting conversation is definitely PlayStation and Xbox.
Right. So you believe that the Switch is going to outsell the other two? Does that necessarily mean that they won? Like in our eyes, in their eyes, yes.
If their games are selling, 10 million plus each release, then yes, they've absolutely they are doing what Sony's trying to do, but at a lower overhead and just at a much higher rate, which is why Sony's releasing like their PC catalog and stuff.
Yeah, as far as console wars, they're really not fighting anyone. They are just reaping what they've sown from all of their previous generations, all the love that's gone into their franchises. So it is mainly Xbox versus PlayStation 5 at this point.
Yeah, and it really does feel like that.
A really hard call, because the last generation, the PS4 outsold Xbox One 2-1. And
it's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that bad. If PlayStation does end up on top, it's not going to be 2-1.
Yeah, it's not. And PlayStation right now is the market leader still. But the only thing that's been tough is that the supply issue the last 2 years has been such that we can't even tell what like the top bounds are. Like every console that's coming out, maybe except for the Series S, is getting like taken off the shelf immediately,
Yeah.
So it's really hard to call. And I mean, the way I look at it is the Xbox is doing as well as it is right now, like keeping pace. It's definitely, I think it's a few million behind with their output, like an output of like almost nothing. Like imagine them if they start firing on like every cylinder, past this next year. I think I mean, there's a reason like Sony is freaking out about this Call of Duty deal and trying to slow it down and stuff because it's
if
scary.
They get Call of Duty, even if they didn't, I'm thinking that if all Xbox needs is just a few first-party games in a row to just hit for the right audiences, and then maybe PlayStation they just slip a little, just releasing sequels of their previous games. It can get kind of stale. Like I know Troy with Horizon, you're just kind of like, okay, this is more Horizon. And sometimes sequels can feel that way. So if they're not constantly innovating and making new IP more interesting or just more interesting gameplay for their sequels, then it can get kind of stale. So if Microsoft Studios, I mean, we're getting a lot of new IP from their their Bethesda acquisition, what I have here, like Everwild and Avowed are two ones that I'm looking forward to. Those Everwild, I really don't understand what it is, but it's rare, so
yeah. Apparently, cool. There's been some development hell stuff with that game. We're not probably gonna see it for a while. But
that's the problem. Like, what are we going to see in the next 2-3 years? Like, where is Xbox going to be? Because, like you said, things keep getting pushed. So, what do we have left? Because it feels like that every year is like, oh, like 2022 was supposed to be a big year for Xbox, and so was the previous year, and so was the previous year, right? But it's just like,
I mean, they pushed every game forward and forward and forward. I mean, a lot of their games that have release dates are in like the first 6 months now. So a lot of those games that are pushed are coming one way or another at this point.
Yeah, like Minecraft Legends.
Or Starfield,
Right, that one.
That little game.
If Starfield hits, like, that's going to be a big shift, I think. Because if it hits as big as Skyrim, like, everyone's going to be buying an Xbox.
Yeah, I think that game will help. I don't know if it'll do the same numbers like a Elder Scrolls will or anything like that, but I think it'll be one of those games that pushes people to buy an Xbox for sure.
I think it definitely has the potential to do it. I don't think it has a good chance of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing that moves the needle. I think that's just another like tipping point for people. Maybe a year in the future, they're like, "Wow, that's a good list of game," and it includes Starfield.
Personally, I'm worried it's going to be a disappointment, like Fallout 4 was for me.
Yeah, I think what you had a good point there, Josh. That just kind of Sony's attitude and kind of where they're at. Like, I think, if nothing else, I think all the games they're going to put out are going to be super polished and they're going to be, they're going to be like really good, like tentpole games and stuff. And I think that's still going to, that 80 million, maybe I'm thinking in my head, like that 80 million, like hardcore gamers that they sold like PS3s, 360s to are going to all be there for that. It's just that like Microsoft is still hungry from last generation. They're still like Phil Spencer's at TGS actively trying to make deals and acquisitions. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Jim Ryan's like in meeting rooms in Japan this last week,
I mean, but I don't know. The history doesn't really reflect that to me because they've got the deals for exclusivity for at least the first year or two for like Square Enix, right? So they're going for the big ones, right? I mean, what is Microsoft really going to gain from working with the smaller studios? Like, who do you think they're trying to shake hands with?
I think they've been eyeing Sega for a long. I don't know if they're going to acquire Sega, but
I mean, I guess Atlas.
I mean, I think for a Game Pass subscription, Atlas is a good one. That's right. Yeah. I mean, all the Persona games are going to be day one. It was really surreal to go into the Game Pass tab the other day and see a big old Persona 5 Royal download now icon. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
But I know like PlayStation also has the Yakuza games. They're on the PlayStation.
Oh yeah, that's
Plus
right.
As well.
That's right.
So it's just weird, like how much is that overlap with those two? It stops feeling like a competition at that point where it's just like, oh yeah, they're both getting these games. Colton was saying, which Assassin's Creed was on PlayStation Plus?
They just added Origins to Plus,
and we were saying that Odyssey was on.
Yeah, and they just added Odyssey.
They're like so similar. It's just weird. I mean,
to our point, in our group of friends, at least all of us now have a Xbox console, and that's not it. That's definitely not what we could have said last generation.
Oh,
until
absolutely
like maybe
not.
the very end.
Yeah. I think in that department with this current generation, I think Xbox has been seeing
they've been making a lot of promises and
and like a genuine rise kind of like feeling to it, and even me like who did not care for Xbox once I switched to PS3 and a PS4, like genuinely. It's just that it was that console that, oh, your friends got it, so you gotta have it too to play like whatever game, like a Call of Duty or whatever. But
yeah,
looking at it now, with the services, with the backwards compatibility, with like these all these promises, with like studios, even with PlayStation themselves and their services, in the future, where like what it holds, it feels like to me, it might be kind of close. Xbox could really come in hard and hit all cylinders, like truly. But to me, I'm always gonna view it as like just we're all gonna have our own preferred taste in a console, and we're gonna stick to that one probably. But I do think Xbox is gonna have a nice rise. I'm already kind of seeing it. I think you guys are too, especially with like us all having an Xbox.
Yeah, I think Josh is right. I think if Sony does win this generation, it's not going to be by much. And
right.
I think what you were saying, Izayah, like if Xbox becomes the console everyone buys because of Call of Duty, because their friends are playing Fortnite on it, like all these live services games make like a big switch. Also because it's the cheaper console everyone can buy.
Right.
You
Yeah.
I think that's where they have a chance to really, like I said, I think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be the game that could move like 10 million, 50 million Xboxes on its own. And there's no game PlayStation could announce that could, unless they were like GTA is exclusive, which, obviously is going to happen. But there's no game that like Xbox or PlayStation is going to come out of their first party that's going to sell consoles in that, like, in that number.
Right. And it again, like luring me with that price tag, $300, like that's a damn good price tag, and I think that alone kind of like should sell people on it. Honestly, I think Xbox deserves that attention for such a nice price tag for like a only digital console. I mean, not all of us are having like a bunch of hard cover like consoles or games like physical. So
yeah,
digital only is not that bad.
I don't like it. I have bad internet. Having bad internet just it ruins that altogether. Takes days to download a Call of Duty game
or a patch.
That's fair.
Yes,
that is fair.
A patch,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, at this point, it's really hard to say. I could very easily see Xbox at the end taking over. But as of now, PlayStation is very much ahead. It's still the zeitgeist to own a PS5. Like I think Gen Z and a PlayStation 5, it's kind of like, like slap a Supreme sticker on that sucker. Like, it's still like, it's still the cool console to have. And I think it didn't help that you couldn't get it, but it definitely helped like the word of mouth, it's just like, oh, I'm trying to get that PS5, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, when these all these consoles are like readily available, and they're pushing out all their first party stuff, like, at a good clip, and you got to realize that Xbox, when you look at how many studios they own, versus like PlayStation, I mean, I don't know about the quality, but their output is going to be pretty wild once every studio is releasing something on Game Pass. And it sucks that 2022 wasn't the year that was going to happen. I thought it was in 2021, but when it will happen at some point, those studios will start releasing games.
Or they could just cancel
it's just math,
games like they did the Dragon Boy and his headset with music.
I almost want to I almost want to mark this like episode down and do another one like in a year's time. And I think,
that'd be cool.
Like ask the same questions, just because I think.
Console Wars 2023.
I mean, what do you think of the controller now? I mean, obviously we don't have to go through all that. Yeah, maybe PS5 will re-release like a Slim or something, but yeah, and
I think that's a good place to end the episode. I just wanted to do one last section here. Like we've said, we don't really know.
We
who's
really
gonna
don't.
win in the end. I don't really have any skin in the game, so whichever one wants to win, feel free. Do Switch. You want to release the Switch Pro? Do it. I'll probably won't buy it because I just bought an OLED. I don't have that kind of money, but do it.
I'll help you, Josh. Don't worry.
You got my bag? Okay. You want my Venmo? Okay.
He's got that Whataburger money.
Hey man, $200 like every week.
Regardless of who ends up on top, it's going to be exciting. I look forward to seeing it. But I wanted to ask you guys, just last thing, what is your most anticipated Microsoft game? We're going to go down the list.
Oh, interesting.
Let me look at that list.
That's really cool.
Thanks, man. I thought of it just now.
No, like, because like we never ever like give much attention to Xbox. This is like a first.
Oh, I was gonna go through all of them, but yeah, no, just Microsoft.
Okay. Yeah, I want to do all of them.
Just spit it out if you get it. What's your most?
Well, it's weird because let's just include Blizzard. Can we just include Blizzard?
Yeah,
Diablo 4 by like a mile.
I agree. Diablo.
What was that vampire game that like got delayed? Redfall, dude. I'm really liking that. I'm really liking like the feel of it.
Yeah.
Avowed is a close second for me. Colton, you got one.
It's a tie between. I guess it's a tie between
Where's the list?
Starfield and
It's at the bottom.
Oh, where is it? Okay.
It might be a tie between Starfield and Diablo, just because I like Diablo on the phone so much. I think I might give Diablo a try.
But you're more of a sci-fi guy, right? I think we've had this conversation before.
That's why I'm not entirely sure on Starfield. Yeah.
Okay.
Sci-fi guy.
Well, it's funny because it makes me realize too, like PlayStation doesn't have a lot announced either. Like they're quietly working on stuff too, so it's kind of
it's kind of like okay, Spider-Man 2. Moving on.
Yeah, like God of War is going to come out, Spider-Man 2, and
I guess I wasn't really thinking of God of War because it's so close.
Yeah, I mean God of War is the big game coming up. You know,
the big one.
My vote's still Spider-Man 2, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, anything else God of War at this point.
Yeah, I guess I can't. I'm like racking my brain. What are they making? Like, I guess maybe the new Sackboy whenever that comes out.
Awesome.
Wilfredo
thanks you. But apparently that's on PC. Yes, right.
Yeah, like God of War is looking mighty fun.
I would say my hope for Xbox Studios is that I want at least at the end of this generation, I want at least one or two exclusives that I'm like, wow, this is like when people see this game, they think Xbox. You know what I mean? Because you see that with PlayStation and Nintendo. I just want like a game that like hits it out of the park. Like they're 10 out of 10.
It's still like when Halo and Gears come out, it's like I think of Xbox, of course. It's just I don't want to play those games.
Yeah, you think of the 360.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the problem.
The glory days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then and for PlayStation, I hope they diversify, like you said. Like I will play Spider-Man when it comes out. I'll play God of War. But last generation, they really did a good job of like bringing out new IPs and things like that. So I want to see some new stuff from their studios. And I feel like we might just get an entire console of sequels, which is a little sad. But maybe Naughty Dog will come in with like a sci-fi joint or something wild. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah. All right, and we didn't forget about Nintendo, of course. What do you guys? I mean. Is it the obvious one? Are you looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom?
I mean,
yes,
yeah.
Is that the one?
I mean, Bayonetta 3 for me.
Oh yeah, right. I forget who I was talking to.
I like. I'm looking for Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm still wondering if I should just hold off to play it on whatever their next handheld is, but. That won't work. I'm sure I'll buy it.
Remember, you bought it. You bought it on the Wii U for that first one. You didn't get to play it on Switch.
I didn't.
You waited.
I bought it and then I got a Switch and then I played it on the Wii
U. I can't believe that still.
So yes,
Bayonetta 3 it is. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. We'll see. I'll just say for our listeners stuff, we will definitely have a Game of the Year episode at some point. I'm not sure how exactly we want to run that yet, so we will figure that out. But yeah,
looking forward to it.
Awesome.
And at this point, I will thank you guys for having me as your temporary guest host, and I'm gonna bow out and give it to Troy to get us out of here.
Awesome. Well,
I don't want to be here anymore.
that was it. That was the last straw. All right. Well, I had an awesome time. Thanks, Josh, for taking care of this week's episode. That really helped a lot. And I hope you guys and everyone listening has a great week. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.